way from Detroit, so switch your brains over to English. Yes, switch them over and start with an enormous applause, because we know the Americans love great applause, so give her that same applause. Here's Mikaela Burch!
Glad to hear that. My name is Mikaela Burch. I'm from the United States. I'm from Detroit, it's my hometown. But don't freak out. I didn't bring my gun. Relax, guys. Yeah, you probably could consider me as Donald Trump's worst nightmare. Yeah. It's pretty much a poor black gay woman from Detroit. Like, I'm sure he wouldn't come grabbing on this pussy. Probably just build a wall. Around all of it all. Actually, funny thing, earlier I was speaking to my mother, and we were talking about my sexuality, and in the middle of the conversation, she asked me, she's like, Mikaela, how actually did you know that you were gay? So I thought about it for a moment, and I gave it an honest thought, guaranteed that. And when I think back, honestly, I think it was probably church. Yeah, it was church. So growing up, my family was quite religious, so every Sunday we would go to church. And I remember one particular service, I was maybe around 8 or 9 years old or something. The pastor was preaching, and in the middle of the service, he's like, today's service is gonna be about the corrupt mind of lesbians. I was just like, okay, well, what's a lesbian? I asked my mother, and she's like, girl, be quiet, pay attention. I'm like, all right, cool. So I look back at the pastor, and he keeps going, and he's just like, may God please deliver these lesbians from these horrible, horrible, painful, sinful thoughts of two women in the same bed, rubbing, licking, and biting on each other's neck, they breasts and thighs. And I'm sitting there looking like, yo, this sounds kind of nice. Wait, so this is also an option? I mean, since you're on about it anyway, Pastor, how about you just tell me more about the practice of these lesbians? Shit, man, can I get an amen? Amen. Hold up. We gotta rewind that. How about we just make that an A woman? Am I right? Yeah, give me some. It's all good. Yeah, but to me, America is just confusing. Yeah, let's make America make sense again. How about that, right? Yeah, and currently the government is just shut down. America's closed. How does that even work? You go to the White House and there's this sign outside that says, sorry, we're closed. What? But what absolutely blew my mind last year is when Donald Trump proposed giving guns to teachers in schools. Yeah, it's a joke on its own. It's ridiculous. And I was watching the news, and of course there's some high school in Texas that was willing to just jump all on the idea, and they actually started giving guns to teachers. So they were interviewing one of the students, and she's just like, personally, I feel really safe knowing that I can go to school, and if anything were to ever happen, my 50-year-old science teacher, girl, you guys have way too much faith in America, and some of these teachers are absolutely crazy. Actually, who remembers the movie Matilda? Yeah? Yeah, and in the movie, you remember Principal Trunchbull in the movie. Now, imagine if that bitch had a gun. Yeah. I mean, personally, I prefer the chokey, but that's just me. Just saying. But you see, that's why in Detroit, we're simple people. We just don't go. Seriously. I read an article in the New York Times that says that in Detroit, on average, 57% of students skip school regularly. Yeah, and if you think that's shocking, same article also says that not only students, but 17% of teachers in Detroit also skip school. Yeah. and shoot. So, like, simple solution. Just don't go to school and you won't get shot. Like, easy. It's easy, man. You know, a few months ago in Detroit, actually, weed was legalized. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, give it up a little bit. Some. But I know you Dutch guys, you know, you're spoiled with your little fancy coffee shops. But hear me, just hear me out. You guys don't understand how bad buying weed in Detroit actually is, like off the streets. Seriously, and the only type of weed that the drug dealers seem to really have is like Mexican brickweed, which is this horrible grown weed in the desert. They just take it and mush it down in the shape of a brick. Like I'm sure the Mexicans probably could just use it to build a wall. I'm just saying. But now, things are getting better. Because with the new law is that the only weed which can be sold is that grown by a licensed caregiver with a minimum of 2 years of experience in growing. Yeah. And my friend told me about this weed shop downtown where they just hired this recent doctoral graduate from Harvard to grow the weed. Yeah, I was like, wait, whoa. So are you telling me that now I can get my weed from a guy with a PhD in THC? Oh my God, it must be like the most ultimate weed. Like, please smoke this weed. It smells like strawberries, and side effects include time travel. Oh my God, I love some. Please. All right, I'll leave you guys with a story, then we'll get out of here. So recently, last summer, I was in Croatia, and while I was there, I visited this national park. So I organized my transport through this one private tour bus company, and on the way back, we stopped to this one gas station out in the middle of nowhere. So I just decided to get up, go in the gas station, and get a box of tampons. And why, when I come out, is the bus gone? Yeah, like the bus just like forgot me at the gas station. Like how it was only 7 people in the bus, so I don't understand how you missed me, okay? But I'm looking around, and all I see is the gas station, and literally like 9 young men standing next to a black van staring at me. And so I'm like, oh my God. And then one of them begins to approach me, but I didn't waste any time because I pulled out the box of tampons, like, ah! Say that! Just saying, just a warning before, things get a bit bloody. So I don't want anybody to get hurt. All about the peace. But the guys, they offered me a ride. So they seemed decent, so I took them up on the offer. But as we're in the car, one guy's like, yeah, I'm a really nice guy. He really kept making it a point. So I'm sitting there like, oh my God, what a convenience. I totally thought the same thing about Bill Cosby. Well, no, you knew. So, as a safety measure, I decided, pull out my phone, and I go on Instagram. And I just start casually uploading videos to my story. And in the story, I'm like, oh my God, would you have a look at all 9 of these identifiable young men? Like, crazy story. I was in Croatia, but I got back. But P.S., if I end up raped and murdered, these are the motherfuckers that did it. All right, guys, you have a good night, Mikaela Burch. You have a
Give it up for the wonderful Mikaela Burch! Dan gaan we langzamerhand weer omswitchen naar Nederlands. Omdenken heet dat in vakjargon. Ik moet wel eerlijk toegeven, ze maken wel een punt. Ik denk dat het niet handig is om leraren te bewapenen. Als leraren een pistool hadden gehad toen ik op school was, dan had ik de tweede klas niet overleefd. Dat weet ik nu al. Ik heb ook een beetje medelijden